But first, we begin with that breaking news from overnight. One of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded in history, triggering tsunami waves and alerts in Hawaii and also along the West Coast. Let's take a live look at Honolulu this morning, courtesy of EarthCam. Just a short time ago, Civil Defense Hawaii downgraded its tsunami alert level, but warning of unusually strong currents as well as waves. They say the worst there may be over after waves of nearly 6 feet. 6 feet hit those shores. We're waiting on wave reports from California, Washington State, also Oregon. The quake that started it all was an 8.8 magnitude and hit just off the coast of Russia. And take a look at this, too. Surgeons trying to keep their patient and equipment safe during a procedure as the building violently shakes there. It's unbelievable. Nick's tracking this for us and just watched a news conference as well. Nick, get us up to speed and what we're seeing at this hour.
Marky, good morning. This remains an active situation. In fact, the director for the state of Hawaii Department of Defense just wrapped up a press conference saying that they are downgrading this situation, but it remains one that they're keeping a close eye on. The West Coast, including Alaska and Canada, on high alert this morning, bracing for more of these strong waves. Some have already hit the mainland, coming ashore in Crescent City in Northern California. This earthquake is tied for the 6th largest in history. And right now, you're taking another live look at the coast of Honolulu, Hawaii, right now, where National Weather Service downgraded the tsunami warning to an advisory just before we came to air. But officials warn it could be hours before that's lifted and folks can start returning to their homes in the danger zone. And right now, you're looking at the port of Los Angeles over in L.A. The city expecting a wave surge of less than 1 foot. The city urging residents and workers to avoid the water line and follow official instructions because the area could still see strong rip currents this morning. Waves started battering Russia's Far East last night. Here you see buildings floating in the water as floodwaters washed inland. Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula saw waves as high as 13 feet after that quake. Again, officials are telling people across Hawaii and the West Coast to stay away from beaches and waterways because currents and strong waves can still be dangerous, especially during high tide, Marky. They fear that water comes up. People think it's okay, but it stays there too long and comes back down, and that's the danger.
Yeah, got to heed all the warnings.
Happened overnight across the Northeast, a rare earthquake rattling New York City and parts of New Jersey. Yep, I said an earthquake. Wild, right? Well, the shaking freezing millions of people in their tracks asking, wait a minute, what just happened here?
I'm literally sitting on my couch, my whole apartment starts vibrating. I live in New Jersey. I'm starting to feel like I live in Los Angeles. We're having an earthquake once or twice a year. I text my fiance, I'm like, there was definitely just an earthquake. Sure enough, I checked X, aka Twitter, and there's an earthquake here in Northern Jersey. Insane.
A small earthquake in Hasbrouck Heights rattles nerves and buildings in New York and New Jersey.
This is the second earthquake to hit the Garden State in less than 2 weeks' time. Our Zania Maldonado is joining us live from Washington Heights. And Zania, any reports of damage in our area?
Doug and Jenna, well, so far this morning, officials here in New York City and across the water in New Jersey say no damage and no injuries have been reported. And as mentioned, this is the second earthquake in New Jersey in less than 2 weeks. A series of small quakes centered around the Morris Plains area in New Jersey back on July 21st and July 22nd. And here in New York City, if you are waking up to any type of non-emergency damage,
avoid the rising water. Severe storms and flash flooding slamming the East Coast. Emergencies declared in New York and New Jersey. Rainfall rates of 3 inches per hour, making a mess of rush hour. Water filling up this bus. Outside Baltimore, water swamping roads, stranding drivers. Heavy rain also in D.C., this massive tree crushing cars. A different problem in the upper Midwest, smoke from Canadian wildfires causing some of the worst air quality in the world. Alerts issued from Minnesota to Indiana. Meanwhile, in Texas, we're learning more about the catastrophic July 4th flood. Drivers trapped in vehicles along this expressway. Powerful thunderstorms hitting Pennsylvania. Multiple lightning strikes reported.
A new record set for the longest lightning strike. It was certified by an international weather organization on Thursday, and meteorologist Joseph Neubauer joins us now. Joseph, this strike had happened nearly 8 years ago, but how long was it?
It was 515 miles long, guys. It came from a storm complex that actually impacted parts of Oklahoma. Scientists are calling this a mega flash, this lightning strike. It was from a 2017 storm complex that stretched from Missouri through eastern Oklahoma, all the way down into Texas. It was on the night of October 22nd, 2017. At the time, the World Meteorological Organization, they had just started digging into some new satellite data from GOES 16. They actually used it at the time to document and track a lightning discharge, but the storm kind of went under the radar and was not fully documented. But here today, or rather yesterday, nearly 8 years later, a re-examination confirms the lightning flash distance, comfortably beating the previous record for longest lightning strike. That was 477 miles from a storm complex back in April of 2020. A representative there at the WMO says it's likely greater extremes still exist, and that we'll be able to observe them when more data comes in over time. But back to that 515-mile lightning strike, just for some perspective there, here on a Friday morning, that would take 8 to 9 hours to drive. A commercial plane, about 90 minutes to get that distance, and then a little bit of math early this morning, Jonathan, 515 miles.
So we're excited to see what kinds of lightning come out of this new work, and especially as technology improves and we are able to get satellites in other parts of the world, then we'll be able to expand towards the eventual mission of providing global coverage of lightning.
Now, unlike ground sensors, satellites sit about 22,000 miles above the Earth. This is really cool video. And they move along with the planet's rotation so they can keep a constant eye on huge areas, catching lightning whenever and wherever it strikes.
Nature is scared.
It's so cool.
Previous record was 477-mile length, and that was from Texas across Louisiana and Mississippi. So,
whoa.
They beat the record.
Darn it.
Gosh.
We had to.
Did you see the first one?
It was actually in 2020, so it was an active storm, but it's hard to, at the moment, almost impossible, if it's one continuous strike. It has to be researched after the fact.
At least 30 people have been killed in flash floods, which have hit large parts of the Chinese capital. In some areas, local residents teamed up with firefighters to help pull trapped people to safety. Almost a year's worth of rain fell in Beijing in just 4 days, according to local media. The worst affected areas include the northern districts of Yanqing, Huaorao and Miyun. In Miyun, 2 towns have recorded over 54 centimetres of rain, which is just short of the 60 centimetres Beijing usually receives in a year.
The massive deluge of rain in Beijing's Miyun district flooded its streets with torrents of muddy water. The local river burst its banks and swept up everything in its path.
The rescue effort has been frantic. At a nursing home engulfed in water, firefighters saved nearly 50 people battling through a raging river current. This all followed torrential downpours which have been hitting the outskirts of Beijing with a huge force. The easing rain revealed the carnage of the last 48 hours. The speed of the driving flood was shocking. People we spoke to said they thought they'd be okay, but were still very worried.
We couldn't stay at home with water right up to the bed.
I was here the whole time. Who wouldn't be afraid?
It's such a pity. I'm nearly 70 and have seen nothing like it.
My house is there, and my car has ended up there.
We've seen significant resources deployed to the mountains outside Beijing. In recent times, there have been plenty of deadly floods here, so this time round, the authorities are taking no chances, and Xi Jinping has ordered emergency teams to spare no effort to try to make sure that there are no more casualties.
Massive wildfires have broken out across parts of the United States and Canada, with millions now under air quality alerts as toxic smoke drifts across much of America's Midwest and Northeast. A so-called megafire raging on the north rim of the Grand Canyon has burned through almost 50 square kilometres, while dozens more are burning in Tinder Dry, California. Here's our US correspondent, Catherine Firkin.
It's a rapidly escalating emergency. In California's Los Padres National Forest, towering flames are eating their way through dry brush at breakneck speed, threatening hundreds of homes and triggering evacuations.
The winds were just, burning your eyes. We had to get out.
Ranchers like Dan Cobb are racing to save livestock as fire crews scramble to contain the blaze.
It's a loss. We'll start over. So we're going to ship them off to the valley and start up next year.
The Gifford fire has now scorched over 26,000 hectares, with authorities blaming a crippling drought for the dry terrain.
This is a very rapidly fast-moving fire through steep terrain with lots of dry vegetation.
Further east in San Bernardino County, the Gold Fire is only hours old, but has already burned through 140 hectares with no signs of slowing. In Arizona, firefighters remain locked in a month-long battle with the Dragon Bravo fire, burning near the Grand Canyon's north rim.
My goodness, these firefighters they'll just work night after day, day after night until we tell them to come in and we'll swap them out with the fresh crew.
Across the northern border in Canada, record-breaking wildfires are triggering toxic air alerts across North America. The dangerous smoke is stretching from Ontario all the way to the Atlantic, blanketing parts of Detroit, Chicago and Minneapolis. Those cities now ranking among the most polluted in the world.